The kitchen smelled like lemon dish soap and yesterday's coffee. Morning light came through the window above the sink, cutting across the countertop where I'd spread out a business plan I've been working on for 3 months. The pages were organized in a blue folder, numbers highlighted in yellow, projections marked with sticky notes in 4 different colors. My wife walked in carrying her phone, still in her bathrobe, hair tied back. She glanced at the folder, then at me. "I'm starting my own business," I said. She laughed, not a chuckle, a full laugh, the kind that bends you forward slightly. She covered her mouth, still holding her phone. "You're serious?" I nodded. She laughed again, shaking her head. "David, you're 52. You have a steady job. We have a mortgage. This is—" She gestured at the folder like it was a child's drawing. "This is cute, but come on." I didn't argue. I didn't defend the numbers I'd run or the market research I'd compiled. My hands stayed flat on the counter. Something in my chest went very still, like a door closing somewhere deep inside. I gathered the pages back into the folder, closed it, and set it on the chair beside the table. "Okay," I said. She looked surprised for half a second, then shrugged and walked back toward the bedroom, already scrolling through her phone. She had no idea what she'd just set in motion. My name is David Chen. I was 52 years old, married for 19 years, and I worked in operations management for a mid-sized manufacturing company. My job was stable, predictable, unglamorous. I ensured things ran on schedule, that inventory moved efficiently, that problems got solved before they became fires. I was good at it, good enough that people relied on me without noticing me. Our marriage looked solid from the outside. We had routines. Friday dinners at the Italian place on 4th Street. Saturday mornings she'd go to yoga. I'd handle the grocery shopping. Sunday evenings we'd watch whatever series she'd picked. We didn't fight. We just existed in parallel tracks that occasionally intersected at the kitchen table or the shared calendar on the refrigerator. But there were moments, small ones. The time I suggested we try that new hiking trail and she said, "You hate hiking," even though I'd never said that. The way she'd talk over me when her sister called, finishing my sentences with her own version of events. The assumption that my paycheck went into the joint account while her consulting income stayed separate, because she needed flexibility. I let it go. I let a lot go. Silence felt safer than conflict, and I told myself that was maturity. The business idea had come to me gradually. I'd noticed a gap in the market during my work, specialized project management software for small manufacturers who couldn't afford enterprise systems. I'd spent evenings and weekends building a prototype, teaching myself coding through online courses, talking to potential clients at industry events. It was viable. The numbers worked. I just needed to take the leap. That morning in the kitchen wasn't the first time I'd mentioned it. I'd brought it up twice before, softer, more tentative. Both times she'd changed the subject. This time I decided to be direct, to show her the actual plan. I thought seeing the research would make a difference. It didn't. 3 weeks later, we were at her parents' house for Sunday dinner. Her father asked me about work, the usual polite question. Before I could answer, my wife jumped in. "David's having a midlife crisis," she said, smiling at everyone around the table. "He wants to quit his job and start some tech company. Can you imagine?" Her mother laughed. Her sister smirked. Her father looked at me with something between pity and concern. "You've got a good thing going, David. Don't throw away security for a fantasy." I cut into my roast beef. The meat was dry, the knife dull. I chewed slowly, swallowed, and took a sip of water. "Just an idea I was exploring," I said. "Nothing concrete." My wife patted my hand like I was a child who just agreed to behave. I felt my jaw tighten, but I kept my face neutral. Under the table, my free hand pressed against my thigh, fingers spread wide. That was the moment something inside me went quiet. I didn't storm out. I didn't make a scene. I finished dinner, helped clear the dishes, drove us home in silence. She fell asleep watching television. I stayed up in my small office, the room that used to be a guest bedroom, and I opened my laptop. I started a new folder, downloaded banking statements, created screenshots of text conversations where she'd casually mentioned my money and your paycheck. I organized them by date. I wasn't angry, I was focused. There's a difference. The next morning I called Marcus, a friend from college who'd started his own business 7 years ago. We met for coffee at a place downtown, away from anywhere we'd normally go. I need advice, I said. I'm thinking about leaving my job, starting something on my own. Marcus stirred his coffee, studied my face. What does Rachel think? She laughed. He nodded slowly. And you're still doing it? I think so, but I need to be smart about it. Smart means legal protection, separate finances, clear documentation if things go sideways. He leaned back. You planning on going sideways? I thought about her hand patting mine at that dinner table. I'm planning on being prepared. Silence wasn't surrender, it was strategy. I spent the next 8 months moving carefully. I kept going to my job, kept up the routines, kept my face pleasant at the dinner table. But underneath, I was building infrastructure. I opened a separate business account, transferred my side project income there, legally, cleanly. I met with an attorney who specialized in business formation and asset protection. I learned about operating agreements, liability shields, intellectual property protection. I registered my LLC in my name only. My wife never asked about the mail I started receiving at a P.O. box I'd rented near my office. She was busy. Her consulting work had picked up. She traveled twice a month, came home exhausted and distracted. Our conversations got shorter. She'd scroll through her phone during dinner, half listening when I talked. When I stopped initiating conversations, she didn't notice. I landed my first paying client in month 4. A small manufacturer in Ohio who needed exactly what I'd built. Then a second in Pennsylvania, then a third in Michigan. I worked on their projects late at night, early mornings, lunch breaks. My prototype became a functioning product. My functioning product became something people were willing to pay for. My phone buzzed during a Tuesday morning meeting at my day job. A text from Rachel. Did you move money out of the joint account? I'd transferred my paycheck to my personal account the previous Friday, as I'd been doing for the past 2 months. But she'd finally noticed. I texted back during a break. Restructuring some finances. We'll talk tonight. That evening, she was waiting at the kitchen table, arms crossed. Where's your paycheck going? Into my personal account. It's always been my income. We share finances, David. You share access to my income. Your income stays separate. I'm matching the structure. Her face went red. You can't just change things without discussing it. I sat down across from her, hands folded on the table. I tried to discuss something 3 months ago. You laughed. Then you made it a joke in front of your family. Oh my God, you're still on that? It was a business fantasy, David. You're not an entrepreneur. You're operations management. I am now, I said quietly. I have 3 clients. I've been running my business for 8 months. It's incorporated, it's profitable, and it's mine. She stared at me, her mouth opened, closed. You've been lying to me. I've been working. There's a difference. She stood up fast enough that her chair scraped against the floor. You're being insane. You're risking everything we've built. What have we built? I asked. The question came out softer than I intended. Tell me specifically. She grabbed her phone and left the room. I heard the bedroom door close. Not slam. Close. Deliberate. I checked the time. 7:43 p.m. The next few weeks turned cold. She stopped asking about my business, started making comments instead. Must be nice to play entrepreneur while I pay the actual bills. I'd pull up bank statements showing I'd covered my share of the mortgage, utilities, everything we'd split for years. She'd wave it away. You're keeping score now? That's pathetic. I didn't engage. I documented. Screenshots, email trails, recorded conversations where she admitted her income stayed separate because she deserved autonomy. I wasn't building a case. I was protecting myself. My phone buzzed at 10:15 on a Thursday night. Bank alert. Wire transfer blocked. Insufficient authorization. I opened the app. Rachel had tried to transfer $15,000 from the joint savings account to her personal account. The bank had flagged it because I'd added a dual authorization requirement 3 weeks earlier. She came into the office where I was working. "Why did you block my transfer?" "I didn't block it. I added a requirement that we both approve large withdrawals from our joint account. That's my emergency fund. It's our savings account, funded by both of us." Her jaw clenched. "You're being controlling." "I'm being careful." She left without closing the door behind her. I heard her on the phone minutes later, voice low and sharp, talking to her sister. I kept working. Month 10, I landed a contract worth $42,000. A mid-sized client who wanted a full system build with 6 months of support. I signed it in a coffee shop, hand steady, pen making clean lines across the signature page. My day job salary was $68,000 a year. This single contract was 2/3 of that, and I had 4 other clients. I gave my 2 weeks notice at work the following Monday. My boss looked confused. "You have somewhere better lined up?" "I'm going out on my own." He leaned back in his chair. "Well, good luck with that." I'd expected skepticism. It didn't touch me. Rachel found out when I came home early on a Wednesday. She was in the kitchen, making tea. "Why are you here?" "I quit my job." The mug slipped from her hand. It didn't break, just spilled tea across the counter. "You what?" "I gave notice 2 weeks ago. Today was my last day." "You quit." Her voice went flat. "Without discussing it with me. Like you discussed laughing at me? Or telling your family I was having a crisis?" She grabbed a towel, started wiping up the tea with short, angry movements. "This is financial suicide, David. We have a mortgage, I have a business generating income, contracts in place, clients paying on time. I've covered every expense I committed to covering. You've never asked to see the numbers. Because I shouldn't have to babysit your fantasy." I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, turned the screen toward her. She glanced at it, then looked away fast. "I don't care what your phone says. You're gambling with our future." "My future," I said quietly. "You've made it clear we manage our lives separately. I'm following your model." Her sister started calling more, then her mother. I'd hear Rachel on the phone, voice rising and falling, words like erratic and unreasonable drifting through the walls. Her father called me directly one evening. "Rachel's worried about you, son. This business thing, is it really viable? It's profitable, growing, stable. But is it secure? Long-term? More secure than assuming someone else will always take care of you." Silence on the other end. Then, "I think you two need to work this out." He hung up. I forwarded the call log to my attorney, not because I thought I'd need it, because I'd learned that careful people keep records. Month 14. My business had grown to 8 regular clients and 2 major contracts. My income had surpassed my old salary. I'd hired a part-time assistant to handle scheduling and invoicing. My office had moved from the spare bedroom to a small commercial space I'd rented 3 blocks from the house. Clean, quiet, mine. Rachel barely spoke to me. We existed in the same house like strangers assigned to the same hotel floor. She'd leave notes about bills. I'd leave checks. We didn't eat together. We didn't watch television together. We slept in the same bed out of habit, not connection. Each of us as far to our own edge as possible. Then the lawyer's letter arrived. I found it on the kitchen counter, already opened. Rachel standing beside it, arms crossed. "You need to read this." It was a consultation letter from a divorce attorney, not filed, just exploratory, outlining her rights, potential asset division, spousal support considerations. I read it twice, set it down. "Are you filing?" "I'm exploring options. Because I started a business you didn't believe in. Because you changed everything without caring what I thought." I looked at her, really looked. Her face was tight, guarded. Her hands gripped her elbows. She looked scared. "I cared what you thought," I said. "I asked you. You laughed. Then you humiliated me. Then you called it a fantasy for a year while I built something real. You never once asked to see the numbers, never asked how it was going. You decided it was a failure before it started. Because it was reckless. No, I said. It was uncomfortable for you. There's a difference. She looked away. I can't do this. Then don't. I picked up the letter, folded it, put it in my bag. If you want a divorce, file. But you should know that everything I've built is separate. My business is mine. My income is mine. We'll split what's joint, but I'm not negotiating what I created while you dismiss me. Her face went pale. You planned this. I protected myself. That's not the same thing. 2 weeks later, we sat in a conference room with both attorneys present. Neutral space, gray walls, a table that smelled like furniture polish. Rachel brought a folder thick with printed emails, bank statements, highlighted sections she thought proved commingling of assets. Her attorney slid a settlement proposal across the table. 50-50 split of everything, including the business valuation. My attorney didn't touch it. He looked at me. I nodded. I pulled out my own folder. Thinner, more organized. These are the incorporation documents showing the business was formed in my name with my capital. Here are the bank records showing all business income went into a separate account. Here are the expense reports showing I covered my share of household costs from my business income. Here are the text messages and recorded conversations where Rachel stated multiple times that her income was separate and autonomous. I slid each section across the table as I spoke. Rachel's attorney read quickly, face getting tighter. The business has no marital claim, my attorney said. My client is willing to split joint assets acquired during the marriage, but the business he built after being dismissed and publicly humiliated is separate property. Rachel's attorney whispered something to her. She shook her head, jaw set. He used marital time, marital resources. I leaned forward slightly. I used nights and weekends. I used public libraries. I used free software. I used a laptop I bought with money from freelance work you never asked about. You don't get to claim something you called worthless just because it turned out to have worth. Her lawyer held up a hand. Let's take a break. We stepped into the hallway. Rachel stood near the window, arms wrapped around herself. For the first time in months, she looked small. Why are you doing this? She asked quietly. I'm not doing anything. I'm holding a boundary you taught me to build. I didn't mean... She stopped, swallowed. I didn't think you'd actually... Succeed? I finished. I know. She looked at me, eyes wet, and in that moment I saw it. She'd been scared. Not of me failing, of me not needing her, of me becoming someone who didn't require her permission or approval. She'd kept me small because it felt safe. I'm sorry, she said. I should have supported you. Yeah, I said, you should have. I walked back into the conference room. We settled that afternoon, split the house equity, the joint accounts, the furniture neither of us cared about. The business stayed mine. I didn't gloat. I didn't lecture. I just signed where my attorney indicated and left first. 3 months later, I changed the locks on my new apartment. Small place, 1 bedroom. Windows facing east, so I got morning light. I made coffee in a kitchen that smelled like nothing but coffee. No yesterday's arguments or last week's disappointments. I'd published my first case study the week before. 3 companies had reached out asking about enterprise contracts. My assistant had become full-time. I was hiring a second developer. The business had exceeded $200,000 in revenue. It was real. It was mine. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt unburdened. Silence had never been surrender. It had been preparation. While everyone else was laughing, I was building. While they were dismissing, I was documenting. While they were assuming I'd fail, I was learning how to succeed on my own terms. If you'd been in my place, would you have stayed and tried to convince them? Or would you have let your work speak for itself? Tell me in the comments where you're listening from. Your presence means more than you know. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe. Let's keep walking this road together.